How's it going, guys? And welcome back to Retrospect, your go-to retro gaming podcast. You're listening to episode 36. Today, we're celebrating 1 year of the Steam Deck. And joining me on the mics, we have the saltiest dude in the world. Not really salty, Brandon Saltalamacchia. Brandon, how's it going, dude?
I'm doing good, man. I can be salty in some of my reviews. I literally get that all the time. Like, no wonder your second name's Salt. Like, all right.
Well, and your handle, your Twitter handle is I am Brandon Salt. You know, I mean, you're not really giving people a lot of guesswork there on that one.
No, couldn't fit my surname. You know, just not enough letters for that one.
And then also, really exciting, we have Russ from Retro Game Core joining us on the podcast. Russ, how's it going, man?
Super good. I'm super excited to be on here. I really appreciate the invite. Thanks.
Yeah, we were talking a little bit before we started recording. I'll say it again. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Russ. We're going to kind of run through some of this stuff. So yeah, again, Russ is responsible for all of the incredible content that comes out of Retro Game Core. He is an expert. And when I say expert, like he walks an elementary school child like myself who knows nothing about emulation through how to set up Onion OS on the Miu Mini, which, again, all terms I had never even heard until I saw Russ's video with incredible intro music. That's one thing I wanted to mention, too. Who did the intro track for your channel? Because that theme rips.
Yeah, so that's my buddy Jim. He has his own like solo group called Our Ghosts. And yeah, he was just talking to me at one point because initially I had some music for my channel that I had taken from an artist, and I tried to contact him and said, hey, I want to use your music, and he never got back to me. I was like, well, it's fine, I'm going to be a tiny channel, it doesn't matter. And then I got big and I was like, oh crap, I got to do something about this. And so my friend Jim was like, I'll make your music. And so yeah, he ended up we worked on it for a couple of months, but yeah, I'm really happy with that.
Dude, so good. It's got like a Stranger Things like kind of like almost vibe to it, but it hits hard every time I like turn on the video. I'm like, I love this.
Yeah, we demoed like 4 different songs, and we called that one the Stranger Things song. So,
oh my, dang, dude, I should be like a music analysis kind of guy. That's the next podcast for us, music analysis. Yeah. What does this sound like? But yeah, other than being awesome at helpful guides and all things emulation and setup and Steam Decks and everything else that his world, you know, kind of evolves around, you also are a talented bassist in a band, Oh the Possibilities, in which you recently submitted a video for NPR's Tiny Desk.
We did, yeah. And so, funny story, but I've been in that band forever. We I lived here in Hawaii way back in the day, and I moved back about 3 years ago. And we were in the band back then. So we broke up like 15 years ago when we had to move away the first time. And then we got back, and I was like, pandemic hit and all that stuff. And finally, one of us texted the other, and we're like, we just need to get back together. And my wife used to be our drummer of all things, which is kind of crazy, but she's no longer our drummer. She was like, I'm out. We got 2 kids now. We're not doing this. And so we got a new drummer now. But yeah, it's nothing like we're not trying to be famous or anything. We just kind of want to show the other punk kids that we can rock too. So,
and sometimes
you have so many talents. What was the other one? I remember reading it. The cookbook. You made a cookbook in the past as well. So you're like a chef. You slap the bass, and he's a retro guy. Oh, man.
Yeah.
What don't you do, man?
I released 3 cookbooks. Yeah, I did a food blog for about 10 years. And actually, I got picked up by a publisher, published 3 cookbooks. One of them was like a New York Times bestseller. And so I did that for a while. That was a pretty big deal for about 10 years, and then kind of got sick of it. And so the whole gaming thing came up after that.
Oh, my goodness. Well, I feel like we're sneaking into the end part of this. This is incredible. The cookbook thing is like, that really has rattled me now. I don't even know like how to jump off from that.
Yeah. So when it comes to making guides and stuff, like I treat it like writing recipes. And so, yes, I just, I'm an early kind of adopter with a lot of these guides and with these retro handhelds, but I'm basically just, using the skills that I developed over those 10 years when writing recipes and stuff.
Dude, that makes so much sense when you think about it, though. You're just crafting all this stuff from one idea. You're like, okay, we're going to take all these little small disparate elements and put them together to make one incredible emulator that you're just going to love. You're going to love this when you pull it out of the oven. It's going to be just right. That's awesome. That's so cool. And least of all, or not least of all, you have a cat named Chicken.
Yeah,
that's great.
She's like 15 years old too. We got her right when we moved away from Hawaii, and yeah, we joke with my kids. I'm like, "Well, that's your older sister," and she's great. She's part of the family.
How did that name come to be? Where did Chicken come from?
So we were trying to come up with a name for her, and we were looking over like Japanese names, and there's a common Japanese girl's name called Michiko, and that made us think of the word mochiko, which is rice flour in Japanese. Mochi, and there's a dish here in Hawaii called mochiko chicken, which is like a fried rice or fried chicken dish. And so her full name is Mochiko Chicken, and we were calling her Mochi for years, but then once my oldest son started talking, he couldn't really say that, so he started just saying chicken, and yeah, the kids were confused for a while, like the difference between a cat and a chicken, but it's all good now.
Wow. You wouldn't think like mochi would be that much more difficult to say than chicken, but
right. Yeah, somehow, yeah, you never know with kids, but yeah.
Certain words. Yeah, my son, I don't know, he hasn't picked up a lot yet, but like more recently he's been talking very plainly to me. Like last night we were about to go to bed and I was like, "Hey dude, do you want to go to bed?" And he was like, "No." And he's like 19 months, and I was like, "Oh man, that was very plain and very dismissive. I don't know how to feel about this."
Right, that's pretty funny.
It's awesome, man. That's awesome. Well, hey, anyways, Russ, seriously, thank you so much for being on the podcast. And I did want to mention a few housekeeping bits for us really quickly. So we are sponsored by Handheld History. Brandon, you want to tell the good folks all about a Handheld History 1988 to 95? Am I saying that right?
Yes. You nailed it on the head. Yeah, so this is another crowdfunded book, which is a part of the Handheld History series. We launched our first book last year, which Russ did some writing for, and I think you're doing some writing for the second book.
I am, yep.
Yeah,
nice.
So he's a part of that as well, so you can see his wonderful words in the second book. That is currently in crowdfunding. We're at about 50%, and it basically dives deeper into the handhelds released between 88 and 95. So that's the Atari Lynx, the original Game Boy, and the Sega Game Gear. We talk with journalists, creatives, and developers and stuff. So if that tickles your fancy, I'm sure there'll be links below or wherever Jake likes to hide them.
Yeah, it'll be below the podcast in the description. So if you tap on that on any of your podcast services, it should pop up underneath there, and then also on YouTube. So you'll find them underneath there if you're watching this on YouTube. So easy find. We'll get those up for you. Yeah, but also be sure to leave us a review. You know, we're still starting this bad boy out, so it means a lot if you jump on there. Let us know how you feel about it. If you leave us like a low star review, maybe don't go on there and leave us a review. But if it's 5 stars, definitely get on there. Maybe 4 stars. We'll take 4 stars too, because that kind of shows like credibility, as they say. You know, anything
less will get chicken on them.
Yeah, yeah. And also check out RetroDodo.com. Brandon and the team have been putting out a ton of really cool stuff on there. There's a new article on the Retroid Pocket Flip 3 Plus, whatever the heck that thing is called on there, and a whole bunch of other handheld related stuff, as well as like more. I saw one that I liked recently about top seal Pokemon in Pokemon. You like listed out all of the seals that are in Pokemon.
Oh man! So like a part of this whole publishing stuff, and I can imagine Russ has had a history of it. There's things called like keyword research, and to drive traffic, you need to create content for the terms that are being searched. And for some reason, people want to see seal Pokemon. They want to see what was the other one? We did monkey Pokemon, we did frog Pokemon, and you got to give the people what they want sometimes.
I love it. I wonder if like that's somebody who is like so dead set on having a specific team. They're like, I only want to have a SEAL team, and so like SEAL Team 6 or something like that. They just throw in all the SEALs that they can find, and they're like, yeah.
It's not even a couple of people; it's thousands of people a month that are searching this. So there's something about SEAL Pokemon that people dig these days.
Just all about it. Wow. Well, check out the seal Pokemon article. It's great. You'll learn all about all the Pokemon that look like seals. In how many Pokemon are there now? Like over 1,000. We were like 9 something for a long time, and then this most recent game we got over 1,000. So exciting stuff. I remember back when it was just 150. So easy to count. So easy to figure out how many Pokemon there were. Not anymore. All right. Well, let's jump over to the topic of the show now. So we just recently celebrated the Steam Deck's birthday, launched on the 25th. And I don't know, Russ or Brandon, if you guys have been able to find this out there. I was trying to find some sales numbers before this, and there's not a lot out. I don't know if you guys have seen this, but I know we shipped over 1 million in October. Is there a more recent number that I should be referencing?
So there are no official stats from Valve, and so the 1 million is even speculation. But yeah, I think it's a pretty safe bet. At least 1 million, probably closer to 1.5 million at this point.
Wow. So
it's phenomenal numbers, isn't it? In a year, if you really think about it, like in terms of handhelds as well. Like handhelds, you know, we had the Switch. That's crazy. I doubt well, they might be able to compete with that. I don't know. It's two different demographics, isn't it?
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, with the Switch, you're getting all the folks that were big handheld, like 3DS gamers coming on to the Switch, and the console folks as well. So I think I was listening to a podcast today talk about that, how they're kind of locked in now to basically this format. Like they're not going to be able to go back to their two-pillared system. Like they're stuck with the Switch, just trying to sell as many of those as they can. I think they're like in the mid 100 millions now. They're going to be they're close to the Wii. I think they're second to the Wii.
Right.
At this point.
I think this is a form factor that was incredibly successful, and it's something we've always wanted. You know, I remember it's actually the topic I'm going to be writing about in the next book for you guys. Is that the TurboGrafx Express, like the you know, the handheld for the TurboGrafx 16 and the PC Engine, it played the old games from back in the, like you could actually pull the cartridge out of your home system and put it into your handheld. And so I think this Switch is very similar to that, right? That you can use it in both modes. And this is something that we've all wanted for a really long time. And this is the first time that a company's really nailed it with a Switch. Yeah, I think Steam Deck's a little bit different, though. It's more geared towards, like, adults. You know, like the Switch has kind of got a family kind of feel to it. And obviously adults play it, too. But, man, the Steam Deck is just front and center for, like, those 30, 40-year-old males. Like, just, like, play your PC games. And there is a ton of those people out there. And so I think that's probably why it's so successful.
So... yeah, let's kind of talk about that. So, Brandon, you have a Steam Deck. Russ, you have a Steam Deck. I do not. So, I'm going to be relying on you guys to talk about this. I'm going to be asking the questions. So, Brandon, we'll start with you. Did you pick up a Steam Deck on day one, or did you have to wait a while in the pre-order ring to get yours?
Yeah, I think I was a few months behind, only because I couldn't find my Steam login and I had to authenticate it because it was like 6 years since I logged in. I think it was like old games like Guild Wars and something else. But yeah, I picked one up, and to be honest, I have put some hours into it, but not enough, in all honesty. I can imagine Russ has the same problem where we're continuously testing handhelds that sometimes it's hard to jump on like the modern systems like the Switch and in the Steam Deck. So between that and like running the business and free time, I don't really go on it enough. But I did play like Hi-Fi Rush on it. That was pretty sick, and some other games. But I haven't dived deep enough into it, and this is why I think we bring Russ on, because you, from what I can tell and all of your content, you know this like the back of your hand.
Yeah, so I was lucky. I got one the first day that pre-orders were up. I was actually driving between two different work sites. I was still in the Navy back then. And it was in the middle of a pineapple field, and I lost signal right when I was trying to order it. And so I ended up having to wait like 10 minutes, and finally I was able to order it. And so that 10 minutes meant a month-long wait, like more than people who got it in the first 10 seconds. No. But thankfully, a buddy of mine who also is, you know, in the Navy here in Hawaii, he ended up getting it in the first like 10 seconds. And so he was in that very first shipment. And so he was like, just let me unbox it so I can have that experience, and then you can have it for a week. And I was like, this is perfect. And so I was able to get some of the first videos out there of like impressions and stuff once it had gone to at least shipping to everyone else. And so, yeah, it was really awesome. I had that great experience. And then mine arrived like a month after that.
What a story. Like, you know, it's like, do you remember where you were when this happened? It's like, I was in the middle of a pineapple field trying to order the Steam Deck.
Yeah, I was like rushing to a meeting in the other building, and I was like, I have to drive, but I really don't want to because I'm going to lose signal. And then I did. And so I had to pull over once I got signal and actually order it. So
brutal.
Yeah.
Well, shout out to your friend for doing you a solid too. That's awesome. I mean, anytime I get a new system, like I want to be locked in the house with that thing and just like messing around with it for a long time. So for him to be able to like, I just want to open it, like look at it, kind of mess around, and then you can have it for the whole week and just do your thing. That's a good buddy right there. That's a good buddy.
It was super awesome of him. But to be fair, also his wife like literally had like just given birth, and she was like, I don't want you playing video games. Take care of the kid, you know what I mean? That kind of thing. So as altruistic as I want to say he was, there was like some ulterior motives there too.
You were helping him out,
maybe. Kill him.
You were helping him out. You were helping him out. That's good. So that's one thing I want to talk about with the Steam Deck is on initial setup, I've heard a lot of people say that it's actually kind of cumbersome. It's a little convoluted in terms of getting it set just right to how you want it. Like it's not as pick up and play as I think most people would want it to be. Right. So maybe Russ, you can kind of talk about that. Like maybe in the early years and like maybe now, is it easier to set up? That's the kind of question I want to kind of ask you.
Yeah, so I definitely, for somebody who's just getting oriented with it and they are expecting it to be like turning on a PlayStation or an Xbox for the first time, it is going to be a little bit disorienting because, number one, it's running a custom Linux operating system. Mm-hmm. And so not every game's going to play. And, many people don't understand the difference between like Steam and a Steam library and the Steam Deck. Like all these words are just kind of a little bit confusing. And so a lot of people get into it and they're like, okay, where are all the games? And then they realize there's an entire store here. And like, with Brandon, his issues with actually logging in, right? Those little things can definitely make a difference. And then, to imagine like, for example, you want to play Call of Duty, doesn't work on the Steam Deck unless you're going to wipe it and put Windows on it, it won't work on the operating system. And so just little things like that are a little bit disorienting. You want to put a micro SD card in there and throw all your games on there. Well, turns out up until very recently, the format that they needed to use for the SD card doesn't work on like Windows PCs. So if you wanted to transfer your games back and forth, it wasn't going to work. They're working on these kind of updates now. And so it is getting a lot more user friendly, but still it is a little bit disorienting if you're expecting like an Xbox or PlayStation experience. And it's kind of a bummer because this thing is, yes, it's a PC at its heart, but all the same, like it should be treated like a console as well. And so because of that, it should feel like it,
Yeah, that's a great synopsis. I think that's like been the biggest maybe apprehension that I have about buying one is just like, okay, I know I can do this. I was like, but I also know myself and know that like I might get frustrated or not want to have to deal with the small little tweaks that I have to make consistently over time to keep this thing up to snuff and running.
Right.
And that's just a consideration I've had. I don't know, Brandon, did you have any issues kind of getting yours up and running?
Yeah, like mapping controls was a little bit of an issue, but then they came out with like community mapping or a tab where you can just download what the community's maps. So I think I was trying to play like Lord of the Rings online. It's classic me. I just don't go for the simple things. I'm like, I want to play this very specific game.
Niche game.
That's already incredibly hard to use a keyboard with, but I want to find a way. And I downloaded that, but yeah, the community mapping was brilliant. I thought that was such a great feature. People like me, because I would say I'm like the average consumer. I'm impatient. I want to get it and I want to play it. And it's the same with any handheld I review. If the longer it takes to get up, set up, and get into a game, it infuriates me. And I think the longer it takes me, I feel like it's going to pain a lot more viewers, and especially with the Steam Deck, it is basic in a way, but it can get a bit complicated at times. And there's another. It's not an issue, I guess, but one with me is when I ordered it, I realized I didn't have many Steam games, so I spent probably close to like 200 quid on downloading games as well. So I was like, holy shit, I just spent like £400 on the Steam Deck and then £200 on games. So I think that's a consideration for people when they buy one, especially you, Jake. You'll get it and you'll be like, oh, well, they're pushing this Steam Deck game on the store. I gotta buy it. I actually think I read somewhere, I don't know if it's true, I didn't find a source, but I heard that Steam is actually selling the Steam Deck at a loss, and they make profit on all of the software and the games, which is an interesting way of doing things.
Right. So they haven't come out and said it specifically, but the owner has said that it was a very painful price point, which to me kind of alludes to that, right? But yeah, it's the exact same thing with like a PS5 or an Xbox. You know, they are selling it at a cheaper price than what they are manufacturing it at, or at least they're not making a profit off of it. And they're making all that money back in the software. And since Valve owns the Steam Deck store on top of the hardware, they have that kind of, single ecosystem like Nintendo and Xbox and stuff, which allows them, to make all that money back in software.
Yeah. So that's kind of what I've heard for a lot of, like, I think a lot of more recent consoles have sold that way, like almost at cost or at a loss but you buy one game with it, and it kind of brings it back up to a profitable scenario. And they know people will buy another controller or another game or something like that. So
yeah,
pretty
and that's
standard
why
stuff.
the other consoles, like something like an Neo device, very similar to the Steam Deck in terms of power and stuff, but twice the price. And that's because, they are not making any money off that software. They have to make all their recoup of expenses right then and there when they make that sale.
We had the same conversation with Bob, didn't we? We spoke about why China are just throwing handhelds out left, right, and center, and probably because the only way they make profit is by quantity of actual units instead of the likes of Nintendo and Steam Deck selling software.
Yeah, that's a good observation. I never had thought about that, but yeah, that's got to be what they're doing too.
Yeah, absolutely.
The very expensive Neo. So. On the other side of that, really quickly, so we have the ability to play Xbox Game Pass, and I know PlayStation's bringing PlayStation games over now to PC, which then in turn can be played on the Steam Deck. How easy is that process, and is that kind of changed how you view it now that you have these other stores that are bringing high quality, I guess, third-party content to the actual system?
Sure. Well, it's interesting, right? Game Pass, for example. There's no app that you install and then you're able to start playing those games.
Right.
You have to install the Microsoft Edge browser, and then you have to configure it so that it'll actually play the Game Pass store. And so I obviously have a guide for that on my website, but it's still a pain in the butt. It takes a good 10 minutes to get it set up in the first place. That's part of that part where it's just not a very seamless experience. You got to find those guides. The PlayStation one's a little bit unique as well because for that, they're really just porting over those games to be PC counterpoints. And what it results in for me is that I end up buying those games twice. It's super exciting that Spider-Man was brought over for PC, but man, I already have it on the PS4. And so I'm just buying it all over again. And so, it's good and a bad thing, I guess. At the same time, it is really cool to be able to play something like, God of War on a Steam Deck. But man, how many times have I bought that game at this point?
Yeah. That's kind of what it seems like too. I mean, it's great that it's on there, but a little too late for all. And I think most people that are buying a Steam Deck probably already have a console that they could have played a lot of those games on as well. Again, fitting that kind of mold. This person, it's a middle-aged individual that probably has some disposable income and is able to buy multiple consoles. And they're like, yeah, sure, I'll grab one of these. And when those PC ports get put on there, it's like, I already played this. I don't need this. It's cool that it's here. Maybe if I want to mod this or max it out and play it again at the best spec settings, I'll try it. But again, the Steam Deck's not going to do that either. It's really, you have to kind of spec it down to be able to play it in the Steam Deck from what I understand. Correct. So
yeah. And the other part is, there's so many different PC game stores. You have the Steam store, obviously the biggest one, but then there's the Epic Game Store and GOG and a couple others like that. And those don't just aren't cross-compatible either. And so I found myself, even though I had a pretty good library of any of those, I've just been going and rebuying them on Steam just to make it a much easier process. Because you can get them installed on the Steam Deck, but again, it's a workaround, kind of like the Game Pass thing. And so for me personally, I'm also when I want to play the Steam Deck, I want to actually relax and enjoy it and not work. And so I end up just buying it again on the Steam store just so that I have that convenience.
Right. Same thing with the Switch, though.
Right.
So I'll pay the Switch tax just for the convenience, just have the indie game that I already owned, but on a portable version, It's great.
Right. I wish there was cross-save functionality. For example, I bought Horizon Zero Dawn for the Steam Deck, but it's a game I already played 100% through on the PS4, and I can't access that save game, and I don't want to play it over again. You know what I mean? But I still want to show some of that footage, later levels in some of my videos, and I don't know. I'm kind of stuck at that point.
I'm sure you could figure out some way. If someone could figure out, I feel like Russ could figure out how to transfer some random save from a PS4 onto a Steam Deck.
That's true. Yeah, it might be possible.
So this is something else we kind of briefly touched on, but we touched on before the show, but how many years do you think it'll be before we see an upgrade? And then also, can and should the Steam Deck get an upgrade? I guess that's the second question. So how many years do you think, and then should that even happen? Can that happen?
Well, from starting from a technical standpoint, right? So the Steam Deck runs what they call an APU, which is basically a CPU and GPU mashed together. And so the APU technology is really good with AMD, which is what they're using here in the Steam Deck. They have a specific chip that they ended up using specific for the Steam Deck. Now, every year you usually get a new generational leap. And in the year of 2022, when this one came out, as well as the 6800U chipset, which is the one used in like all the modern INEO devices, it was a big jump from the previous one. Yeah. And we're already seeing the next generation, the 7000 series, and I don't think it's going to be as big of a jump. But the thing is, when you get a new console, like imagine going from the Xbox to the Xbox 360, it was a generational leap. Like you bought the thing, you plugged it in, and you were like, oh, wow, this is what I spent my money on, you know? I don't see that happening in the APU space for the next year or two, because there's just not going to be a big generational leap like that again.
Yeah.
And so, there could be some improvements that would happen. For example, they would upgrade the chip in the point where it wouldn't be as power hungry, so you could get longer battery life, you know. Maybe they could put like another screen or something else on that there. But as far as a new like generational like Steam Deck 2, I don't really expect to see that. Instead, what I would say is that there'll probably be a refresh, you know, like the slim version of the PlayStation that comes out after a couple of years every time they have a new generation. You know, so we might see like a smaller Steam Deck. Or a better screen, you know, things like the Nintendo Switch OLED, you know. But I don't see us having a Steam Deck 2 at least well into late 2024 or maybe early 2025.
Brandon, what are your thoughts on that? What would be the years that you'd want to wait until a new Steam Deck came out?
I think Russ is totally right. You know, this product still has a massive market to penetrate as well. A lot of people want it, and I think they came out with a 10% discount recently as well for their first birthday, which probably increased sales drastically. But in terms of like performance, for bang for your buck, it's the best on the market currently, and it can power and do a lot that you chuck at it. You know, it doesn't do like every AAA game, but you can squeeze enough out of it to get a good gaming experience. So in terms of the market's needs, the Steam Deck is more than comfortable in doing that. I think when we start seeing, you know, bigger games come out and you see it's not Steam Deck compatible, that's when I think Steam's going to have issues and are going to start needing to upgrade something, right? Even if it's a pro version or a slim version or something. But yeah, I reckon not for a few years, I think.
Yeah, okay. And developers are paying attention to the popularity of the Steam Deck too, so they are optimizing their games, like either in development or the ones that have already released, so that they are improved. You know, Elden Ring is a great example. That one came out right around the same time as the Steam Deck, or at least about a year afterwards. And they immediately started fixing all the bugs on it with the Steam Deck. So that was one of the very early Steam Deck AAA games, was Elden Ring. And so I think we're going to see more and more of that. And what developers don't want to see are like multiple Steam Decks out there where they have to do different optimizations for different consoles. And so I think from that perspective too, it just doesn't make sense why they would make a new one. And honestly, there are some AAA games that won't play very well on it, but there are tens of thousands of other games that run really well on it too.
Yeah, and I mean, back to your point about the Steam library itself, that's such an asset to the actual Steam Deck, because I mean, as a Switch owner and a PS5 owner, like almost every indie game that is notable or, you know, I feel like just well received, it starts on Steam. It starts as an indie game, usually on PC, on Steam. And I'm like, that game looks sick. I can't wait to play it when I have the device to play it. And I think that's just a huge win for them. So as long as they keep on getting that pool of indie developers that are putting content on there, I mean, like that's a major draw for anybody, because I feel like where a lot of creativity is happening is in that space still. And what better way to play those games than on a handheld, almost console-like experience, you know, that can actually handle a lot of those games and make them look better. Because like a good example is Tunic, which is a great game. I played that on PS5. It looked gorgeous. But I'd seen where the port that went on Switch didn't look as good, didn't perform as well, and I was like, dang, that's a bummer. But on the Steam Deck, that thing probably ran buttery smooth and looked great. And so, again, I think indie development is where the Steam Deck really is going to shine. I mean, AAA, great. You can play a lot of games on there, but if you're a person that wants unique experiences on the go and you have a guarantee that it'll work and probably be there first, Steam Deck rips. It's great for that. I just sold myself a Steam Deck.
Absolutely. You know, the other thing is, you know, I've had a Steam library for years. I've never been a primary PC gamer at all. I actually built my first gaming PC in 2020 because I was super bored during the pandemic. And
like Henry Cavill.
That was it. You know what I mean? And so before that, I'd owned some games that I had bought over the years. And it was amazing to me when I logged into my Steam Deck for the first time and I saw games that I bought back in like 2007, 2008. They're just like, hey, you want to play this game now? And I'm like, maybe, like I have that option, which is crazy because with, PlayStation, Xbox stores, it's never that easy.
No. Yeah, nothing carries over. I mean, right. PlayStation did okay with the PS4 store, but like even some of that stuff you lost. But I love that. I love the idea of you seeing a game you bought that long ago. It's like it's being able to do the same thing with your I guess your like Apple Music library maybe or something like that. But I listen on Spotify now, but it's like, man, what was Jake listening to in 2006? Like, oh, I don't know if I want to listen to this right now, or maybe I do. It's like it's a great nostalgic kickback, as you guys both know. All right, so so I guess another part of this is like, why would someone want the Steam Deck over something like an emulator? Because I think that's another appeal for a lot of people is being able to like emulate a ton of stuff on this. Why would they go for a Steam Deck over something like the Aya Neo or a related kind of comparable system?
Right. Yeah, it's really interesting, but price to performance, like Brandon mentioned earlier, is the best on the Steam Deck. And so if you're looking at just the base model, like say $400, right? There's nothing at $400 price range that can even compare to the emulation power of the Steam Deck. Yeah. It's not even close. Like we're talking like $600-700 for something that's just similar and probably not even as good. And so that's not even taking into account how comfortable it is to actually play and hold and everything else. And the other part of it too is that the Steam Deck community is growing. It's very, very large already. It's much bigger than any other handheld. And as more people get involved in it, like there's just more solutions and people just kind of getting excited about it, finding new things. EmuDeck is a great example. That's basically an emulation installation platform that I feature a lot in my videos and on my website and stuff like that. But that's basically just a guy who I had been working with before. We were trying to do something similar with Android. And then he got a Steam Deck and he's like, this thing's amazing. Let me make a script that'll install all the emulators so you don't have to go and get them all one by one. And so that's what he ended up setting up. We made some videos about it, put it up on Reddit, and it just blew up. And now it's like he spends all his time working on that now. And so there's so many different solutions like that you won't find from some random Aya Neo device. And even the Ambernet community or the other retro handhelds and stuff like that, they don't have that power. They do have a lot of good developers and people involved in the community and stuff, but it's nothing like the amount of people that are jumping into the Steam Deck. And so I think for me, it's like the more popular something is, the more longevity it's going to have, longer legs and things like that, more accessories and, solutions that people come up with in the community and stuff. And so because of that, it's a no-brainer to me that if you really want high-end emulation, the Steam Deck's the way to go. It's not perfect. Like PS3 is not great on it, and that's just a limitation of the number of cores and threads that they have on here compared to what usually the PS3 emulator likes to have. But, everything else is great. I mean, to be honest, I have 3 Nintendo Switches and I own, 30, 40 games, but I just dump the ROMs from those cartridges and then I play them on my Steam Deck because they're more comfortable and I like having everything all in just one place. And so this is kind of like my Mario Kart machine, which is crazy. I could just play it on the Nintendo Switch, but I prefer to do it here.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And adding on to that is there's an actual customer service with this handheld. I think in the emulation scene, if you were to buy something, well, we all have tried from Ambernick, Powkiddy. Go Retro, they're probably getting better. I've seen that they have like a social team now, so that might mean you're going to get some feedback from them, but like Russ said, the community will fix or try and help you fix any problem, issue, or anything you want to do. You're just a forum away, which you can get with these handheld emulators, but it's kind of like hit and miss sometimes. And when you want direct help from the company that took your money, they're nowhere to be seen, whereas Steam, they'll help you in a heartbeat.
Right. And another good example is, let me grab some. So this controller right here is from 8BitDo. It's called the Ultimate Controller. And this is a really good setup for the Steam Deck. But when it first came out, there were some issues with the way they had mapped the buttons with the key mapper and stuff. But basically, like, it wasn't giving the correct inputs for certain buttons. I made a video about it and I kind of addressed it as well. And then I was like, 8BitDo is not going to fix this. They're a big company, you know, but all the same, I'm like, they're probably not going to be able to fix this specifically for the Steam Deck. And you know who did? Valve fixed it. They went in and they updated the Steam Deck to work with that controller. It's not their controller. They're not making any money off that, but they somehow assigned a developer to fix somebody else's problem so that that controller would work perfectly with the Steam Deck. And then 8BitDo like did all these tweets about, hey, it now works, like as if they had done anything. And so it's just very typical though, right? Like a Chinese company or any of these companies really, they'll make something and then they just kind of move on to the next thing and they just hope that they don't get in trouble or whatever. Whereas Valve is updating the Steam Deck software like every 2 or 3 days. It's kind of crazy. And so, yeah, those kind of things really do mean a lot. And I'm excited to see what it's going to be like a year from now too.
Yeah. One thing I will say about the emulator side, I mean, not having owned one, the appeal on like a smaller handheld, like I think it really only shows up in when you kind of consider like what are your intentions? What do you want to do with this thing? If you're just trying to play and like emulate older games like GBA, Super Nintendo, like and kind of beyond that, like those smaller ones are really cool because the form factor makes sense in those applications. It's like, cool, all I needed the D-pad, A, B button, L and R, and I'm good to go. And so like a Steam Deck might be overkill in that scenario if that's all you're wanting to do. And if you're wanting, again, that kind of nostalgic retro throwback, that's where those handheld emulators kind of come into play. But by and large, yeah, it sounds like the Steam Deck is your best bang for your buck, everything system. And it's funny hearing you mention playing Switch games on there because, yeah, having large hands, the Switch sucks, dude. Like I'm playing Metroid Prime Remastered right now, and I bought one of those Satisfy grips, which is a game changer. Like truly, like no pun intended. Like it's so much easier to play games on that now because my hands don't feel like they're like falling off my arms whenever I play the Switch. So it's funny, like yeah, you're literally opting to play games on the Steam Deck because of how uncomfortable the Switch is. So like take some notes, Nintendo. Just Switch 2 when it comes out. Make that thing a little more comfortable to hold, and then you got a big winner.
Yeah, and you know, so another thing for me is that I don't play a lot of like retro games on the Steam Deck. Typically, I will only play GameCube and above on there, just because I have those other little handhelds that just make a lot more sense for me when it comes to playing that. But then the other thing is that like if you look at the other operating systems that are out there, so if you look at like Android-based handhelds, you have things like the Odin or the Retroid Pocket and stuff, and even like Razer just released their Edge, which is a super powerful Android-based handheld. It's great, right? It's super cool that they made that. But there is no like Wii U emulator available for Android at all, or PS3, or any of the Xbox emulators, right? So you don't even have the option of playing those systems on that handheld at all. And again, the Steam Deck can do everything because it's a PC, and so there's not a single system that won't run great on it.
Food for thought. Words of wisdom from Russ. Here you go, guys. So then, closing this out on the Steam Deck, like who would you recommend this like to? Like who is the Steam Deck? Kind of aimed at. You kind of hinted at this at the top, but who do you think the Steam Deck is for?
I really think it's for people who want to play either PC game, like PC gamers who want to have something portable, or even console gamers who are sharing like a television. So for example, they want to play their game on the PS5 and then the wife comes in and is like, hey, let's watch an episode of whatever Netflix show. And so
Ted Lasso.
You're always, exactly. You're always going to say yes to the wife, right? And so in that sense, you're like kind of at a loss. So like, what do I do? The Steam Deck is a console-friendly kind of alternative to that. I think a lot of people use the Nintendo Switch in that regard, but the Steam Deck has the ability, for example, you already own the game, you're playing it on your PC or whatever. Steam has cloud saves, and so you can immediately resume your game on the Steam Deck just like that, and it just kind of works like magic. And so I think that's really great. It has a working sleep function too, so you can just kind of power it down and come back to it later. Things you wouldn't expect from a PC gaming experience. And so I've really seen a lot of people talking about how the Steam Deck has been like revolutionary for them because they lead busy lives. They've got like kids or whatever. And so they only have 20 minutes to spare here and there. And sometimes they don't even have access to the TV because someone else is using it. And so I think in that regard, I think the Steam Deck is really well worth it. The price is pretty high, obviously $400 to $650 if there isn't a sale going on. That's a pretty significant investment. But the fact that you can emulate just basically everything and then also play all your PC games and have them all in the same interface and have the convenience of being able to just kind of jump in and out of the game when you want to with the cloud saves and everything else, to me, it's just a no-brainer. Like, I can't believe we're living in a world where this is even an option. It's crazy.
How about you, Brandon?
Yeah, I think Russ said it perfectly. It's the ultimate all-rounded handheld if you want to dive into everything, you know, from AAA games to retro consoles. I would advise that you need some kind of, you know, PC gaming history. As much as I did, I didn't touch a PC for maybe 8 years before the Steam Deck, and my library was just dust. And like, oh, let's jump into this hand. Oh, there's absolutely nothing in there. So I think, you know, if you're a newcomer to the PC scene and jump straight into the Steam Deck, it might be a little bit, you know, it'll feel a little bit crazy at times. But, you know, I think eventually you'll get there with purchasing a few cheap games and tinkering with settings and community mapping. But yeah, it's just the perfect all-rounded handheld at this moment in time, and it's the biggest bang for your buck you're going to get.
Dang. Glowing recommendations. And I feel like, you know, the Steam Deck would be a good system to have for, like, I don't know, Diablo 4 or other games that are coming out pretty soon. Just grind out some levels with your friends or your brothers.
Yeah, and you know, those trackpads, I actually don't ever use them. You know, they have the trackpads on each side.
Yeah.
But if you're going to play a game that is actually very mouse and keyboard kind of intensive, like a Diablo, I just imagine, you know, my old roommate used to just click, you know, like he had to buy a new mouse every 2 months because he's just clicking so much, you know. And so the trackpad will do that same function for like real-time strategy games or, you know, those isometric role-playing games and stuff like that. And so, yeah, it's a great fit for many things. There's a lot of people who use it for like gyro controls when they're playing and aiming and stuff. That's like way over my head. It breaks my brain when I try to do that. But the option's there, which is kind of amazing.
Gyro, especially like on a handheld. I can understand like when you're doing it in like Splatoon on like on a TV or something like that. But like when it's the screen you're moving around, that's a little
like,
much.
It really did break my mind. Like I even did a video where it's like, look, it doesn't move the way I think it should. And then someone like wrote a comment. It was like, it's because you're doing it wrong. Like I was thinking like the wrong way. And so when I moved it one way, my brain was thinking another way. And it's probably because I play inverted when I actually play like first-person shooter games. And
you're one of those
I was just the idiot. Yeah.
One of those inverted guys. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
Of course.
You can always tell the age of people based on whether or not they play inverted, because in the early GameCube and PS2 era, when like first-person shooters were really kind of popping up, there were no options. It was just inverted. And so many of the games I learned to play on were just like that. And so I've always just been that way, unfortunately.
Because the idea is like you envision you have like a joystick attached to like the back of your like viewpoint, right? So you tilt, push up to like look down and down to like look up.
Is that real? Really?
That kind of like
it's
is
like
how
pilot
people,
controls.
Like, yeah, it kind of like makes sense in their brain that way. Yeah, pilot controls, but just if you want to relate to like a joystick, that's how it makes more sense.
Yeah.
So that's wild. All right, well, let's close out then. We've said a lot about the Steam Deck, and I think anybody that's listening, myself included, you know, I've been on the fence for a while. And again, Brandon, you mentioned the price drop. I feel like that's a big price drop for me. It's like one thing, because like, again, I want access to indie games and that's sort of that PC side without having to dive fully into buying a PC. And it's kind of the perfect answer in that way as well. So who knows? Maybe we'll report back in a few episodes and I'll have a new toy to show off on the podcast. But happy birthday, Steam Deck. Happy birthday. Congrats to all involved. And hopefully we'll see some sales numbers soon to know exactly how successful they have been.
Totally.
So let's close out then, or move to our next segment necessarily. So Russ, we wanted to just kind of give you a chance to kind of talk about yourself. And we have these questions here lined up for you. So one of the first ones we like to ask always is, how'd you get started? How did Retro Game Core kind of come to be? You sort of talked about it at the top of the show, but what kind of led to you wanting to do that?
Yeah, so actually I have a real long history with gaming and stuff. So, you know, I always played games back in the day, obviously. But then in my mid-20s, a couple of buddies of mine, we were here in Hawaii back then, and we started up a gaming blog, and it was called 3View. There were three of us, and we were doing reviews, so 3View. And
nice.
It was right around the start of the Xbox 360 era. And so we talked a lot about that. And then the Wii launched and we were part of all of that. We never made it really big. You know, we had a podcast and stuff like that, but nothing that like we were making a living off of. But the other two guys in the group ended up getting jobs in the game industry. One of them ended up working for Konami as a game tester. And then the other one, he now is a bigwig at 2K Studios. But he worked his way up through all of that. And it's kind of amazing. And so they kind of moved on to that other stuff, and we closed down 3View, and I was a little bit bored. And so this was around 2010 or so, and that's when I started up my food blog. And so I did that for 10 years, you know, writing the recipes and, you know, the framework for all the guides that I do now.
Oh, yes.
And, you know, I did that for a while, pushed really hard. I was in the Navy the entire time I was doing this. I was in the Navy for 22 years, so this was kind of like a side hustle the entire time. And then just kind of, you know, when the pandemic started, I realized that I was kind of done with the food blog. You know, I was making a lot of sourdough bread, and I was like, I don't want to do this anymore, you know? And so I ended up closing just the idea of my food blog, and I was done after my third cookbook. And then I got really bored. And so, you know, I stuck at home for a while, and I ordered my first retro handheld, which was the RG350. And, you know, I saw, you know, retro Dodo videos and a Bob Wolf video, and it really kind of sold me on the idea of trying out these emulators. And so I got one, and I could not figure out how to make it work. I knew there was something more to it than just the software that came on it, but I didn't know how to find it. And there were no real guides like out there. There was like pieces here and there on random forums and stuff, but nothing comprehensive. And so, you know, my boredom plus like this newfound gadget that I had just really kind of mixed together. And so I started making guides, and 100% written. I was just making a website and just kind of making these written guides. And then I realized I needed to make some videos to accompany those guides, just kind of walk people through the process. And then all of a sudden the videos got more views than the website. And so it just kind of kept going. And then there were new devices coming out. You know, the Retroid Pocket 2 came out, and that was a big deal. So I got one, and I made a video about what it was like and stuff. And it turns out that a lot of people liked my attention to detail. And a lot of that came from my military background. Then I also did a couple tours teaching as well. And so I just kind of have this educational background. And so just kept going. And then that was, you know, around mid 2020. And then, yeah, I just went full time about 6 months ago now. And that's it. Now I just do that. I mostly do reviews now more than guides. And that's just because there's just so many of these handhelds coming out. And everyone wants to know what's Russ's opinion on it. And so I end up like agreeing to take on all these handhelds. And then it takes me like 40 hours per handheld to make a video. And so I never get time to actually get into the guides. And so, yeah, it's crazy, but I love it. You know, I've always got like a stack of 10 gadgets to work on at any given time, which is like my childhood dream. So it's amazing.
Yeah, I think the magic with your content is how deep you dive into it. You know, it's certainly, you mix both it being welcoming for newcomers, but also for the enthusiasts that want very, very specific guides. And I think that how you succeeded so quickly was just very high quality, in-depth videos consistently, and it's done wonders for the community. And obviously you've grown. You must be coming close to 300,000 subs now.
I'm getting pretty close. Yeah, probably next couple months. Yeah,
let's get him there. Let's get him there.
You said the RG350ish. So what's that? A couple of years? 2 years?
Yeah. So that came out in early 2020s when that came out. I bought mine in May of 2022 or 2020, and then I started the website in August of 2020. So yeah, coming up on 3 years here.
Yeah, very impressive.
Thanks.
That is awesome.
Yeah, it's one of those things where anytime I make a video, I need to answer every question I have. And that just takes forever. And so it turns out that all the questions I have are often questions that other people have. And so it does get exhausting. You know, like every time I'm pushing on a D-pad, I'm like, do I really have to tell people how this D-pad feels again? You know, like I've done this 100 times at this point, talking about different, you know, mushy versus clicky and all that other kind of stuff. But, you know, it's just part of the process. So it's fun.
The people want to know. And yeah, every day there's somebody new coming into the space that's never seen it before. And they're just like, huh. Yeah, I guess I do want to know how that D-pad feels, because I don't want one that feels bad. So I'm glad he talked about that. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, what's the favorite, like, what's something about your situation right now? Like, what's your favorite part about what you do?
You know, I think just making my own hours has been really great. You know, just kind of having the time now that I'm doing this full time, just to really sit back and say, okay, now that I have my day kind of figured out, what do I want to do with that day? And it's just kind of amazing. After being in the military for 22 years, where people tell you where to be and when and stuff, it's really nice to be able to just be like, okay, I'm going to use all those skills that I acquired, but I'm going to do it my own way. And so sky's the limit. You know, it's kind of the way I feel. Like there's no ceiling above me. And so that's probably been my favorite, is just being really creative. Now, I always have 20 more ideas than I can ever actually get to, you know, and so I do have to do some triage. And sometimes I do end up spending more time on the things I wouldn't want to, but just because I've already started or I'm obligated or whatever. But I am really looking forward to the ability to just kind of do what I want and see where it goes. You know, it's going to be really fun.
I love that. And one thing that's coming up that you're excited about, anything in the future you can tell people about that you're pumped about, it doesn't have to be anything related to gaming. It can be anything. It can be anything in the world. What are you excited about that's coming up?
Yeah, it's a great question. You know, I hadn't really thought about it much. I'm really kind of living like day to day at this point. Like, okay, what can I tackle tomorrow and that kind of thing. I do have a lot of big plans for things I want to do. This is kind of silly, but you know, the Nintendo eShop is closing here in like the next few days or whatever. And that's my time to basically say, all right, Nintendo's abandoning these consoles. I'm going to pick them up. And so I'm going to start working on guides for the Wii U and the 3DS, specifically like how to get custom firmware working on it, the best ways to do that. I've done a lot on the PS Vita in that regard. And those have been really popular and a lot of fun just to kind of streamline and consolidate the entire process for everybody. And I've seen that the 3DS and Wii U, they have some pretty good guides out there, but nothing that's like a one-stop shop. And so those two guides I've been thinking about for a long time. Like I have a 3DS and a Wii U. I still haven't jailbroken either of them. And so I'm going to do it with everybody else. And I'm really looking forward to that, basically. And hopefully keeping the Nintendo Ninjas off my back as well. So.
They're everywhere.
Yeah. We'll see. We'll see. Well, that's really cool, man. Russ, yeah, seriously, thank you so much for talking a bit about yourself. I know that's always like not the most exciting thing, or it's not the most fun thing to do sometimes, but you did it with exceptional ease and grace. So thank you for that.
Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man. So that's all the time we have this week. Again, Russ, thank you so much for your time. Where can folks find you on the internets?
So my main website is just retrogamecore.com, core spelt like Marine Corps, so CORPS. And, you know, I'm on Twitter, same handle, Retro Game Core, Instagram, same thing. And then obviously YouTube, same channel name and everything else. That's about it. I've got like profiles on TikTok and Facebook, but don't go there. They're terrible.
Don't go there. Don't go there. And then, Brandon, where can people find you on the internet, just in case they want to shoot you a topic suggestion or anything like that?
Retro Dodo pretty much everywhere. And unfortunately, yes, we are on TikTok as much as it pains me to say. I hate that platform so much, but, you know, business.
It might be closed down here pretty soon. Who knows? Keep on seeing.
Yeah, I've heard about that.
Keep on seeing articles about how it might get shut down. So who knows? Who knows what happened? And then for me, it's just Bitbloggist, BITBLOGGIST. I'll be talking about pretty much this podcast and everything else we kind of learned about here today. So listeners, how has your experience been so far with the Steam Deck? If you don't have one yet, are you thinking of picking one up? Write into Retrospect at retrododo.com to let us know, or check out our polls on Spotify. Until then, though, catch you in the next episode. Adios.
Bye.